Oh, we're on the air. It says we're on the air. You're in broadcast. We're
On
on,
the
folks.
air.
Sorry, I was waiting for I don't know, my internet's bad, but everybody's fuzzy, or my glasses are really bad.
No, everybody's
Um,
fuzzy. It's just the
Everybody's
way.
fuzzy.
Yeah, it's the way it comes
okay,
up.
sometimes. Well, welcome, Julianne. You seem to be our team leader, so I'll let you do the welcome and introduction.
Welcome, everybody, anybody who is watching. There are four women here who are very experienced in at being in the wheelchairs, and we talk about this, that, and the other thing, whatever is on our minds, and then you guys write in with questions, and it becomes a laugh riot. Um, Two of our group are not available. Best wishes for your health, Mickey and Michelle. See you next time. But we got Bobby to fill in, and Robert Rohan is a champion in the disability community and just in general. You have seen him on other shows here, but this time he's here with two girls. So today, we are going to talk about the high points of 2024, some of our adventures, and what we're looking forward to doing in 2025. So, welcome everybody. And Bobby, why
Welcome.
don't you introduce yourself and then Ellen?
No problem. Well, thanks for asking me to be on. It's like I feel like it's almost my third time of my what I did in 2024 and what I want in 2025 on these shows. But this is great. Now I did send some pictures over to Sean, and so you can see a couple pictures, but I didn't really highlight that much. So it's nice to be asked. I'm Bobby Rohan. I'm a C5, C6 quad. I know Julianne says Robert, so I go by both. A lot of depending on where I was in life and what I've done. Everybody knows me as both. And I'm living here in California, and I've known these two ladies, lovely ladies. Oh my gosh, for so long. It's Ellen. We go way too far back that we don't even want to bring up numbers. Maybe even you, Julianne, as well. I think we're getting to that point. It's probably been almost 25 years. How long ago did you have yours? Uh, your
I'm 28.
transfer.
28 years ago for me, and I
So
met you whenever Wings started. I think that's where we met. So that
yeah,
was
it's probably 25 years
probably
when
25
you
years ago.
joined. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and we're probably about 35, 36, almost maybe close to 40 years. Um,
uh, well, I've been only here. I'll be going on 36 this year, so probably 34 years we've known each other.
Probably 34 then. Yeah, because it was right after that that you were there. This show sucks. No
Oh, that's
black jokes.
David. We got this on
Yeah,
Tuesday
but
from
we're
David.
not diverse enough. I don't know. You'll have to come on and see us. Yeah, Mickey's healing. Yes, we're hoping that she's gonna get healed quick and healthy for 2025. It is always as Bobby, you know, you've been through health issues up and down, and I think you're one of my favorite success stories of having some very serious health issues and then finding your way back to doing some amazing things. This year, tell us. I mean, you're our guest tonight, so we'll let you start with. Tell us a little bit about. I saw it on Instagram and Facebook. Some of the new physical activity that you've been doing that you sort of like. It blew my mind because I know if I've known you for 34 years, you never seem to age a day, but I know you're older, and what you're doing really is always been sort of my role model. That if Bobby's out there doing it, I can get out there and try to do the things I want to do. So, just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, but when you did know me, I did have hair, full set of hair. So, and it went through a few color changes. When I dyed it really bleach blonde or whatever you want to call that dumb thing. And then over years, yes, I have lost my hair. Now I am pretty much full gray. I think I have a couple dark hairs under here, but yeah, no, I do get old. I do get old, but yeah, I did a competition back in now it was November. at the beginning of November. And as some of you may know who joins the Live to Roll, I'm a coach of exercise because of the pandemic. And when the pandemic hit, we are all bored, sitting around, and I, was on YouTube because TV was boring and let's find some new content. And I saw a gentleman that I have followed after, like you said, Ellen, that I have come back from, being down with bronchitis to pneumonia to this and that. And every time I came back, I'd follow this guy on YouTube to get, all right, I'm gonna get back in shape and do a couple of his videos and then move on. And well, I noticed in the pandemic he was doing some live stuff. And then you can do what we do here is, you can get in the chat. And so I get in the chat and and then he says he has, a membership program. And I thought, like, let me join for $5. Okay. If I put $5 into it, at least I'm committed. And I started doing it every day. And then in that, with that $5 on Saturday, he would do where you can get on Zoom with him and just chat with the other people live on Zoom that were in the chat during that week. And so we would all get on. And then I met a buddy of mine now, Paul from Canada, and we just hit it off because we're the same level and we're just enjoying it and just struck up a friendship and started doing that. And then once the pandemic started moving away, I went full blast into wanting to do more. I'd find videos. I noticed the other folks were like, man, we should just do this on our own if he's not going to do it every day. And I just like join my Zoom link every morning at, 8:30. And that's what we did. And then from
you
there,
had me until you said 8:30.
Yeah. I know yours is a little bit later in the afternoon, but I'm a morning person. Like right now I coach 3 days a week at 7 a.m. So let me get up and let's get going. And so then from there, I joined a program called Staying Driven Live that you can join. We do it, 5 days a week, and it's $30 a month. It's a great deal. And then as I was exercising, she's like, you should be a coach. I went through my athletics training and adaptive athletic training and became a coach.
Wow.
Well, as to answer your question in a little bit of a longer sense, she did this event where it's like a CrossFit base. And when she said, oh, you do running and then you do an exercise and you do running and then you do an exercise and then you do running and exercise and you should do this. You can do it. And I'm like, okay, why not? I'll sign up. Well, it turned out she couldn't do it because she got a little bit of an illness. And so I joined and I didn't even know what I was getting myself into, Ellen. And the more I was digging in, it was just like, wow, this seems like a lot. I might not be able to do this all. And in a sense, because I was like, how are you going to do it that way? And there was one particular event, and I'll tell you about it, but it starts off and you do a 1K run. And this was in the Anaheim Convention Center. So it was indoors. And then, so I ran 1K and then you go to your first.
How are you event. Running, dude?
I pushed as everybody.
I'm confused.
Yeah, no, I'm pushing, I'm pushing along and then I get to the first station. Actually, it was a half a K. Once I added it up, it's a half a K. And then it was a skier. So I have that exercise equipment in the back called a skier. And I had to go 1,000 meters, which took about 15 minutes. And then I get off. But during that time, somebody's helping me strap on. And then you have to do another half a K. Then I came in and then they hooked my chair to this sled that you probably saw, and which the sled is 55 pounds. And I had to push that 40 meters.
And I mean, your shoulders up to the body?
I was, it was my fingers that really got screwed up. But the first push and when I stopped right away, I'm like, man, how am I going to do this? So then
Oh,
I just continued to just start going little by little. And then eventually, once I got the hang of it, I was pulling that sled and you had to go 40 meters, 20 meters
wow.
down, 20 meters back, and then another half a K, and then came in. And you have to now pull the sled with this big, the battle ropes.
Yep.
And I'll never forget, they put the rope on my lap, and I'm like, yeah, this ain't going to work. And I thought I was
Right.
done. But I said, what happened if we just, I go over to the sled the same way? What happened if we hooked it to the front of my chair and I pull it backwards? So I'm pulling it, but I'm right there with it. And they're like, yeah, you
Right.
can do that. And so I did the same thing now backwards, which actually turned out to be easier.
Yeah.
I can get more of my body and then not worry about, because when I was pulling forward, I kept popping up a little bit.
Yep.
So
Oh, yeah.
then you do another half a K, and then you do a rowing for 1,000 meters, another half a K, and then they had to put a dumbbell that weighed 55 pounds. And I had to push that through 80 meters, which turned out to be the easiest. And then I had to go through an obstacle after the run where I have to wheelie into every square and then do a burpee. And my burpees are, I hinge down all the way, come up, I press out, and you have to do an overhead clap. And
Whoa.
then do another half a K. And then the hardest one was taking the sandbag that's 22 pounds, bring it off the ground on a hook, and then drop it onto the other side. I push forward, reach back, grab that bag, put it back on my lap, and then had to do that for 80 meters.
Oh my God.
And then another half a K, and the last one was taking a 4-pound ball over my head 100 times, which had straps
Holy
on it.
shoot.
Yeah, which took 3 hours and 28 minutes. So that was the
And
competition. And, it just felt like a triathlon. So, if, you knew that I used to do triathlons, and that was the first time in a long time that I felt like, wow, I found my love. This is what I love doing. I never felt real again, or alive again, like I had. And the best thing about it was I was the only athlete there in a chair.
Wow.
That
wow.
was the best, you know. Um, and I
So
think
Bobby,
I said,
Mickey's asking, will you do it again?
actually, I already signed up. March 15th,
Awesome.
I'm going to be doing it in Houston again.
Wow,
So,
that's
and they
incredible.
keep sending me emails like, oh, now we're in Atlanta. And I was like, ooh, Atlanta, that would be fun.
Yeah,
But
Atlanta's
yeah,
pretty cool. Very accessible.
and the guy kept telling me, watch for your emails because most likely you'll qualify for the World Championships in Chicago in July. So if I
Wow.
Wow.
qualify, I'd probably go.
Yeah, that is awesome. And
Yeah,
it's just that sort of pushing yourself to find something new that then reignites that passion from something old, I think.
yeah,
Um is, we something old, it's something new is old again. I don't know. I really feel like there is that sort of, yep, there's a picture of Bobby. I think you're
that was,
pulling on that one, right? You're going
yeah,
backwards.
going backwards. Yeah, um, that was fun. That one was my favorite though. I think pulling it back.
Pulling it backwards,
Do you
because I
have
think it's
any, Bobby, do
incredible
you have
that
any
they
tricks
adapted it.
do you have any tricks for keeping your shoulders, your muscles, your ligaments, your rotator cuff from being destroyed by all that? Because my right arm could not do that.
Mhm.
Couldn't push that long.
To answer your question, it's about stretching. It's about keeping in shape, about warming up properly. I mean, warming up like When I do my exercise group, I am having them first warm up, then let's do a light switch, then work a stretch. And then let's warm up some more before we get into our strength and then into our metcon. I think cool down is the next important thing, and also to listen to your body. Take the days off. Um, Apple watches are keeps me motivated. But there's one thing is you got to not let it dictate you about when to take a rest day and when not to. And I said I like getting up at 7 a.m. to coach, and the biggest thing is because then it gets my body moving, but moving slowly. So I'm not actually going to go and work out with them because these guys are on the West Coast and they've been up for a few hours. But it helps me first start stretching, getting my body warmed up for the day. And then, never overdo it. Just try not to overdo it. Yeah, that sounds like I probably overdid it that day. And I did pay the price for the next couple of days. My fingers hurt so bad, because when I was trying to push, I didn't realize how much I was yanking on my fingers to move the sled.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I think,
But
and
over
then
the years,
finding adaptive things that work, right? I know that like gloves, we talked about it last time. Like I've been getting numbness in my hands. I don't know if it's carpal tunnel or what, but I don't want to stop pushing. So stretching, because I think stretching is the number one thing that you can do to stay fit. And I have been stretching at the Center of Achievement for over 30 years. But then getting the gloves, getting my daughter's partner got me some gloves that really keep my hands. So when I'm pushing, I'm not doing that grip thing where our fingers get really sore. They're padding the grip, and that has made a huge difference because I think you make an incredible point about listening to our bodies and then finding ways to adapt and keep them healthy. I think that's the amazing thing, even about the event, that they adapted it to meet your needs or ways that you could do it, because that innovative thinking, there's a lot of, I think, organizations that would be like, yeah, no, you need to go to the one for the people with disabilities, as opposed to how do we make this work for you, that you're doing the same things that we are in the way that you can do them. And that, I think, for 2025 is the biggest wish, is, that adaptability, is, how do we adapt to do the things we want to do? Go ahead, Julienne.
But I'll before you go, Julienne, it's also about how to advocate for yourself. And we talk about that a lot on these shows, advocating for yourself. So, it was a little discouraging when I asked, like, hey, months and months ahead of time, how is this going to work for me? I want you to know what I can and can't do, because there's no way when I looked at or what I've seen online is you're going to take a medicine ball and actually throw it up, and that's going to hit a board and come back down, and that's one. I'm like, there's no way, unless I had a volleyball like in the old days and flick it up, and maybe 1 out of 20 it might get back on my lap, or because most likely it'd be like all day. But that's a volleyball, not a medicine ball. And it wasn't until I got there that day, or the day before, I actually got somebody on the phone and told them what I can and can't do. And he's like, "Oh, okay," because their lowest division for this adapted division was seated athlete with no core function, but it says nothing about no hand function, and that's a big deal.
Yeah,
And that's
a
not in the
test
category.
difference.
Yeah, and I said, I have a medicine ball. I have one that's 2 pounds and one that's 4 pounds, and I could tell he looked a little disappointed. And I'm like, but 4, I don't do it. It's hard, but I'll do it. You tell me how many times you want that over my head, I'll do it. And he goes 50, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can do that. That's easy. And he goes, fine, then 100. I'm like, there you go. Let's go. I want a challenge. I don't want this to be easy, but I also want it to be challenged. And so they learned on the fly a little bit. So I think just if more people can get out there and do these, we can have these categories of adaptive athletes in these kind of events.
So
Yeah, and I
this is
think that
mainly
for
an
me,
able body event, Bobby?
I'm sorry.
This is billed as an able body event. It's mainly able bodies.
I mean, I was, Sean, if you, it's in there, I sent it to him, is a board with all these names on it. And if you look at all the names, there must have been, I don't know, maybe 3,000 people there. I was the only one in a chair there that day. I know
wow.
others have done it in a chair. I know there's been others that had amputee have done it. I know Down syndrome folks have done it, people with Down syndrome, and probably other various of disabilities here and there, because this is all around the world. And but as in Anaheim, and it was sold out months and months beforehand. Yeah, so if you look at that board, there's all those names are the athletes that were there that day.
Wow.
And thank God my name was right there at my level, my eye level. So I did get one with my name next to it, a picture with my name next to it, but I'm the only one in a wheelchair. I'm the only one there that might have had a disability that you entered that type of categories. And there were 6 categories that were listed for adaptive athletes. So,
Okay.
and there, yeah,
So
but
part
it
of
was
it
really,
is absolutely advocating for yourself, and the other part is finding people who are open enough to listen to you and say, okay, that might be a thing. Let's give it a chance. Let's give it a shot. Let's see how this can work in what we're doing.
and I'll tell you why I was probably the only athlete is we're not going to those types of gyms where you're training for something like this and learning about it. That's one reason those gyms aren't accessible for us. Let's get to the fact that we're not going to those types of gyms. And they're
Right.
not advertising on our types of sites that we're looking at. They're not coming on to Live to Roll to say, hey, we have an event. Maybe you might want to try it with all these other able-bodied athletes. But, by them featuring me on their Instagram and maybe Twitter, I've already gotten messages and met with people now. And this guy in Canada last week who saw it and goes, I want to do, that's what I want to do. You look like the same level as me. I'm doing it. I'm going to sign up for Miami. Tell me what I need to do. And so that's how we're going to learn. And that's how more and more people are going to get involved.
And
Well,
what's
and
the
I
name
think
of the
that
organization, Bobby?
It's called Hyrox, Hyrox, hyrox.com
Which
or
stands for
hyroxamerica.com.
But I think that that's what makes. I mean, when we're talking about the new year and new challenges and highlights of last year, it's sort of pushing those boundaries, not just for ourselves, but educating others to create those opportunities. Because I know with travel and like you said, Bobby, even travel that's supposed to be accessible and Budapest has changed the airline industry. It's still not. It's still not easy with the people between the physical barriers and the attitudinal barriers getting out there and doing things. And that was one of my things is traveling. I did a lot of traveling last year with my daughter with roller derby and just going places, but being open to being on the fly, but educating on the fly with the right attitude. And I think that was my highlights. Like, don't go expecting it all to be easy, right? That it's, even if they say it's accessible, go with the attitude of you're gonna hit road bumps, but you can figure it out, right? Where do we get in? Where is the parking? How do you get into here? And when you have that sort of attitude, I think my highlight that it makes a difference, and then it opens it up to other people, because once you've educated, like Hyrox, you've educated them now, and now this gentleman in Canada wants to do it, then we build this momentum, and we're still not going to get perfect access. I think that
No,
it's
and
not
you
going
have
to
to,
ever happen.
and he
But
might
we
even get
can
a
educate.
different he might even get a different experience in in Miami than I got in Anaheim, for whatever reason. And it's like the three of us, we can go to Disneyland 100 times. Not every time it's going to, as much as sometimes we know a place, sometimes they're just more difficult. You run into that staff member that just is not educated. You run into this problem. No, I'm used to parking there. No, not today. You can't park there. That's only for. So no matter how many times you got it down, I'm sorry, there still can be a problem, of accessibility.
Staff member in the handicapped stall. That's my favorite. Wait a minute, you work here, and you're 17.
Exactly.
When I was traveling, one of my highlights. Where were we traveling? Just now from New York, and we were on our flight. 30 bathrooms, 30 stalls in this airport bathroom. 2 disabled stalls, both of them taken by able-bodied people with their suitcases in there. Right? I was like, I'm on a layover. I don't have so much time to pee before I have to get on the next flight. 30 stalls, and y'all are in there changing clothes for whatever reason.
Yep.
And I'm knocking on the stall like, I really gotta pee. And somebody's like, well, these other stalls are open. And I look at that person, I'm like, really? They are, except I don't fit in them. She was like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah. So
I always have a strategy for that. I put my feet so they can tell that I'm in a chair under the stall, trying to open, and then I go, man, the only stall I can get into is taken. Are you kidding? All these others? And then I sit there with my feet like kind of under there going, oh man, I'd be annoying as hell. And they see my wheel. Trust me, I don't think I've ever seen somebody come out without trying to look me in the eye and going like this. Sorry, man.
Oh yeah. I never looked at the eye.
Yeah.
I'm going to try that, Bobby.
Sorry.
Yeah. You stick your wheels so they can see the wheels the whole time. You didn't roll away. No, you're just waiting there going, oh my God.
You just wait.
Hey, I got to give a shout out to California Adventure because I was there 2 weeks ago and in my power chair, mind you. And I just thought, well, let's see how many of the rides I can get onto. They have so many rides that you can wheel right on.
Yeah,
and
they do.
They tie down your chair, you're there, and then almost inevitably you can go a second time because they've already taken the trouble to get you all set in there. So would you and your friends like to go a second time around? Sure. So great on California Adventure.
The Spider-Man ride in California Adventure, they'll let you go around, but if you're trying to web shoot the next day, my arms were like, why are my arms so sore? I'm like, oh, because I rode that ride 3 times and I was web shooting the whole time. Exercise.
I know exactly my experience. And I went, okay, yeah, I'll go and watch, but I don't need to shoot the second time.
That's so funny. I've heard that.
Yeah, it's a great. I loved it a lot. But man, you use your arms a lot. I think. What was your, Julienne? What was your biggest highlight of 2024?
Yeah,
2024. Had to be big surprise, Miss Wheelchair California. Yeah. Just I was so hesitant about running for it in the first place, and I thought I don't have time. I'm never going to be able to cram this into my schedule. I'm too old for this, blah, blah. And then when I found out it was just about if you have a passion for something and are you able to speak about it in public? And I went, well, that's a slam dunk. So what I didn't expect from the experience was meeting the other women who were representatives from the other states when I went to the Miss Wheelchair America competition pageant. 21 of the most amazing, each one of them, the most amazing women, not only articulate and personable, but man, do they fight. I mean, there were few women there who could not speak and were using, voice recording devices. I think I was the only one in a manual chair, or maybe there was one other.
Wow.
So the woman who won Miss Wheelchair America is not only in a power chair, but she's also got a visual impairment and a husband who's a preacher and 2 little kids. So my thought that, I don't have time for this was just absolutely crushed. They just do.
And they're not it's all different disabilities, right? It's not just, as our show
The
is
only
known.
rule is you have to use a wheelchair full time, mostly full time,
Okay.
in the community, I think is the way to say. And you have to be 21 or older, no age limit on the old. And you don't have to wear a bathing suit or do a talent competition. It's all about what are you passionate about and how far are you willing to communicate it. So it's been an incredible experience. And I really encourage other women to do it because that's been one of the highlights of my life, not just the highlight of the year.
Whoa,
That's
cool.
awesome.
That's awesome.
So, Ellen, what are you doing? What are you doing in March?
My highlight last year was,
No, I want you to run for Miss Wheelchair California.
it ain't gonna happen. No, I don't. You know what? As much as I enjoy doing things in the public, I also not enjoy it as much doing things in the public. I don't. I've had my moment in the sun, so to speak. I want to travel more. I think last year, figuring out how to get to Greece, making Greece happen in the midst of life-changing events of 2023, and then making things happen in 24, figuring it out how to connect with the right people in Greece was my highlight. So getting to go to Greece, connecting with the people there, and then doing other traveling with my daughter. So traveling is something I want to do. I want to do more traveling. I'm excited. I will say that Pete Buttigieg's changes to the national transportation system. If you haven't read yet about the changes for people with disabilities in flying, they've changed massively. There's new, I'm glad that they're implemented now. I hope that they're not rescinded or changed in the next administration, but making flying easier, educating people that way, traveling more for access and everything. I think that's really what I'm looking forward to. So that was my big highlight. I went to Maine, I went to Reno, I've been to New York last year, Vegas. I saw Billy Joel. It's sort of pushing my limits to go out there, and that was a lot of fun. I think that's what I really enjoy doing mostly is all the traveling. And I love teaching. I love what I'm doing. I have made it through the second round of the Fulbright Scholar. Yep, there I am in the biggest city in the world. Taking public transportation. So we took the bus from our hotel to downtown Reno. In New York, I took the bus from New York to Jersey. New York has great accessible cabs now. So figuring out, Greece has amazing metro for people with disabilities. Like figuring out how to travel inexpensively and to utilize the public services. I think after 40 some years in a chair, it's about time I learn how to do this. And I think you both made the point. We're never too old to travel. I think we're in camping in Shasta, and I went camping in Yosemite, camping in Shasta. There's just so much with the right attitude. I think I got caught into family life and being at home that we can psych ourselves out about trying new things, and then you do it and you realize, oh wow, I really love this. I really do love this.
And what's unique about it, and unique about all, each and every one of us. I don't want to travel, Ellen. I do not I'm not a person who likes to travel. And I did a lot in my day, and like you said, it is a challenge. Like I'd rather go do another 10 high rocks before I'd want to go and to Greece. As much as I would love to go to Greece and see it, I'd love to see these places firsthand. And I find that's what YouTube is for, when and documentaries are for, finding it and watching these cool things. Like, I always tell my wife, and I tease her because I'm a big person, every July watching the Tour de France. And, she's just like, oh, it's July again. Okay. And I'm like, Ellen, I take you to France every, July. And and they, during the race, that you see most of France that most people probably don't see when they just go there, and yeah, I might see it as it goes by at 50 miles an hour, but I saw it. And that's my comfort zone, but it's when I'm around in my home life and doing something challenging that thrills me more. And I feel like I get more burned out on traveling, and maybe with these changes coming, like you mentioned, maybe it might be a little bit easier. And like I said earlier too, we can go to Vegas 100 times, right? As much not Vegas. Let's put it somewhere nicer, but we can go to Sonoma 100 times to the same hotel, and you can get a staff member. You can get that they got new beds. It just, you never know when you're going
Yes.
to have that disaster trip.
Yeah.
And that might go with a sporting event and something like that. And I can't wait to hear about your highlights in 2025, because, along with mine is a little bit of a travel to do something, but it's just still the unknown. So I think as we get older, and I know with our Thursday show, we talk about aging with a disability. I think as you age, I think some people get like this where their world starts narrowing down. And I've noticed that it has with mine after being injured almost 36 years, that it's just easier. It's more manageable. It's not as much headache. I know where I'm going to sleep tonight, and I know I'm going to manage that I'm going to be in a comfortable bed.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to put a plug in for a nonprofit called All Wheels Up. We're going to have the cards that they have at the LA Abilities Expo, but on their website and the cards they're handing out, there's a QR code, and on the back, it lists all of your rights when you're flying. It's the Disabled Passengers Bill of Rights, if you will. So that's All Wheels Up, and that's helped me quite a bit because I do a lot of flying. I'm going to London in 2025, and I haven't been overseas in a wheelchair. So Ellen, how long was your flight to Greece?
19 hours. I mean, it was long. It was a long flight.
Bobby's never
Um,
traveling again once he's heard that.
no, I mean, the flights are long. You don't drink a lot. I don't get to enjoy alcohol on the long flights because getting to the bathroom. They do have, they're supposed to have online, I mean, aisle chairs on the plane to take you to the bathroom. When I flew to London the first time back in the 90s, they had an aisle chair, and I was right next to the accessible bathroom so I could drink champagne, and the flight attendant was amazing. But then I've been on other flights where flight attendants aren't amazing. I mean, Bobby, you make a really good point. You can go to the same place 30 times, and 28 times it's great, and then the wrong person, they've changed one thing that has now they didn't realize would make a difference. I like to travel, but once a month, once every other month, not consistently, but to plan it out. I think planning. I'm working with a company now called Orbido, which sponsored one of our episodes a while back, but they take videos, so they actually videotape the rooms. They go in there and they don't just show stock photos. They go in and they videotape the entrance, the room, and everything, because what's accessible to Bobby might not be accessible to me, right? Because every injury, every chair, every person is different. So being able to see in advance, like, how do I get in? How do I do this? That has made a
What rooms,
difference, and I
Ellen?
hope to work with them more.
Are you talking hotel rooms or are you
They do
talking
hotel
airplanes?
rooms, and they do hotel rooms, they do transportation, and they do like events, not events. Like if you wanted to go to the Eiffel Tower, or if you wanted to
Got
go
it.
somewhere, they would have it. They're
Big
in
tourist
Greece and they're
attraction.
in Cyprus right now, and they're expanding. They're going to come do San Francisco and New York, I think, because New York is one, right? I just was in an accessible room in New York, and all hotel room. I mean, this was a Hilton, but it's so tiny. And yes, I could use the bathroom, the toilets. I'm just going to say it again. ADA toilets. I don't know who decided that 20-inch height was the right height for toilets. That's the ADA height. I'm like, not for anybody in a wheelchair. Nobody's wheelchair is that low, right? I mean, they're just not. Wheels are 24 inches. So make the toilets 24 inches, make the beds 24 inches. And it's different. I mean, Mickie put that, I did gain my fame as the first disabled woman in Playboy. And when I used to travel, people, back then, people were much more accommodating. And I've been spoiled when I travel because I didn't really get people that are really trying to support me. But I find that most people are really there. I think the highlights for me, Bobby, was like you. How am I going to do this? And then I did it, right? So, same with you, Julianne. Like, I'm too old for this. I don't have time for this. I've been in the chair way too long. How am I going to trap? Because I was the same thing as you, being at home in my own bed where everything is accessible. Life is like that is my home base. I can go out and do a lot of things. But once you get out there, you realize like I carry a raised toilet seat with me because, that is like my biggest thing, easy access to a toilet. So got a nice bag. I put one of those hard ass raised toilet seats with me and I just take it wherever I go. Cruise ship with my friend. I take it on the cruise ship, take it to hotels because even in an ADA room, the toilet is not high enough. So once you start to do it, you figure out how to do it, right? How am I going to lift the 4-pound medicine ball? How am I going to pull this thing the way that other people do
Right,
it?
right. And you adapt on the fly is
Yep.
half of it. And when I say, you said some, Julianne, that said, oh, Bobby doesn't want to hear about the 16-hour flight, or if somebody said it was
19.
or 19 or whatever long. It's not the actual flight that is, as much as it's, being over 6 feet tall. Yeah, it is a pain in the ass to be on a flight. But what finally just got me was sometimes like coming home, you're tired. And when your flight gets canceled for whatever reason, and they're like, here's a voucher to go to this hotel, that was always the worst. It was like,
Yeah.
it's happened like 3 or 4 times to where it's like, yeah, yeah. And how am I going to get to this hotel? We got a van service. Yeah, that's great. But it's not accessible. It's not, you know, it's like, really, like, get me a handicapped taxi. Like, okay. And then they're like, sir, we can't find one. It's like, see, this wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And those are the frustrations. And maybe that's me just being a baby about it. But,
No, it's so true in Reno. So I booked the hotel because it had a free shuttle called Is Your Shuttle Accessible? No. We can get you a cab.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, but no cab comes. I end up having
Mm.
to pay there's supposed to pay for it, but there's no, I just find a cab that's a van that the guy is willing to lift me in. And luckily I'm with my daughter who can lift my chair in. And that is the frustrating thing is not having the access. So a lot of pre-planning and then challenging myself and who am I traveling with? Can they help me? Or if I'm traveling by myself, I will say New York has an app now for accessible cabs. And they're accessible cabs. They're awesome. Um,
And I remember
and
your old trick. And I tell people about your old trick still to this day. And which was, and you can say it, that you used to have your ex-husband out on the street flagging a taxi down. And then once they pulled over, Ellen would jump out and say, oh, cool, we're ready. Is that
yep,
correct?
that was the only way to get a regular cab in New York. But now I will say that you get the app, you can schedule your ride with the app. They send the wheelchair accessible cab. They pop you right in the back, and with your customers, you can act, and they're there in 3 to 5 minutes. Right? We scheduled our ride back to the airport the day before for a 3 a.m. pickup, and they were there to pick you up. And I was surprised. But it does take flying on it. I know Lewis said that, everybody thinks their measurements are average, but there are two sizes of wheelchair wheels, 24-inch and 25-inch wheels. So we know that people in a wheelchair, unless they're in a specialized and they're young, the average height of the seat of a wheelchair is pretty consistent. And the
At
toilet
19, our
are
front
not.
end our front end is anywhere from 18 to 22 inches.
Right.
That's the range. So if you take it, you're going to go 20. But I do have to say, Ellen, you have the highest toilet of anybody I've ever known. And because
Height of my chair.
I've used the restroom many, 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 many times to where I'm trying to empty my leg bag and going, and I wear shorts, so I'm trying to go over the top of her toilet going, man, this thing is high.
I like everything exact height of my chair. I'm working on my transfers, Bobby. That is one of the things I'm always doing the rickshaw to get my transfers where I'm actually lifting and not sliding. Trying to think of those exercises. I think that 2025. I mean, I still go to the Brown Center. I'm working out all the time. In terms of for 2025, any resolutions, I read a great thing about resolutions. Also, power chairs are much higher, absolutely, than manual chairs. And if you have to transfer from a power chair to an ADA toilet, you need like 3 people because that's just craziness. It is really high. I mean, the difference, the height difference between the toilet and the seat is, you can get on easy, but you can't get off. That's the so I was saying in resolutions, I read a great article in the New York Times about making resolutions, but to make them doable and measurable. So one of the things is I have my new step at home and I don't use it as enough. And I'm like, my resolution is to use it 5 times a month, right? Not every day, not every week, but 5 times a month. I think I can, or 5 hours a month, right? So that it's something I can do at different times that is really doable. And I think that that's realistic. I think if we set ourselves up with unrealistic expectations of what we can and can't do, life gets in the way all too often. So yeah, they load right in the back. Mickey's right. Those accessible cabs in New York load right in the back, and they're quick. And the folks that drive them know because they know they're driving accessible cabs. And they still seat 4 people, so they can use, they can pick up people without wheelchairs too. So it's not like they're just waiting for the person in a wheelchair to call. They're just being in cab that can be accessible.
And real quick, I'll give you another city that is amazing. Washington, D.C. I was blown away by their taxi or just wheelchair van service. I had this guy said, you call, I pick up. I called every time he picked up, except one time he goes, dang it, I am way out of your way right now. Hold on. Okay, my friend George is 1 minute away from you. It was just amazing. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So go to D.C.
How's London, Ellen?
When I was in London, which was a long time ago, so I don't know how they've changed. They do have a really active disability movement. Their cabs, my wheelchair could just pop right into, like, their regular cabs because they were the big cabs and they had that big space. Yeah. They would just pop my wheelchair right into the cab and I'd sit in my chair behind it. I don't know if they, between the front seats and the back seat, there was enough room for my chair, and they would just pop me in and we would just go. And a lot of it's attitude. So yeah, I haven't been there in a long time. I do want to travel over to London and see. I imagine they're more accessible. The thing is looking ahead. When I went to New York this time, I looked up accessible cabs. That's where I found the app. Before you go to DC, you look, what is the wheelchair van service? I think one thing you can learn is you're always on the fly. You have to adapt, but that doesn't mean you don't pre-plan as much as you can as well. Like pre-planning is so important, and then being able to be flexible on the fly when things don't go exactly like they're planned. That is the key. I think in 2025, I'm going to make a few resolutions. One is to use my new step 5 times a month. And another one is to work on my work on my book 5 hours a month. Like, those are doable.
Yeah, very attainable. Yeah, attainable
yeah.
And achievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. I mean, to make those goals. What about you, Julienne? 2025.
I've never made resolutions. Always resisted it. But there's something about a new year coming on that gives you energy. It's kind of like a spring cleaning energy, I think. So
and I think that's why we do that.
Year feel revitalized.
I think that's why we do it. And I'm sorry I cut you off. It was because you were saying it's something about because that's what it is. It's like spring cleaning for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And what is yours, Julienne?
Mine right now is because I'm, all of a sudden I've gone from living with my husband to living alone, except for 2 cats and 2 bunnies. So I think if I made resolutions, it would be just to find the happiness that exists in living alone. And I'm asking all of my single friends, just how do you do it? Yeah, how do you break that pattern of, oh yeah, what are we making for dinner, and then having dinner together and
Yeah.
watching a show together? It's so different
It
being
is.
just on your own, you
It is
know?
incredibly different. I think it's hard. Part of that is embrace the grief. It is tough. Um, but then find those. I always say the moments. And every day there are moments. What do you want to eat? Right. So, make yourself something special, right? Make yourself sleep in a little bit longer, take up the whole bed. Um,
Oh yeah, I sleep
breathe.
diagonally across the
Yep.
bed, just like I
Breathe
always used
through
to
the
whenever I
loss,
go to a hotel.
and then try to find the
Corner to
moments
corner.
of it is hard. I will say, last year, no, was it last year? Yep, it was in May. As a single woman, somebody offered to buy me my first drink as a single woman. That happened last May. I was like, yeah, sure. It was actually funny because it was at a VFW and had just bought a drink. I'm like, I just got a drink. I already have one. And like, well, let me give you a chip because they can buy a chip that's good for a drink. So the gentleman bought me a chip. I still have the chip because it's like, ooh, that's my first man trying to buy me a drink as a single woman. Woo! So I have my little chip. And then this year, I was at an event and I met somebody that I thought was flirting, and we emailed back and forth a little bit, but it didn't go anywhere. But just finding those moments of putting yourself out there as just you. Not that I'm looking for anybody, but I mean, you're so vibrant and amazing and drawing people to you that find the things that you're interested, the shows that you like to watch, the things that give you comfort and joy in each moment, the foods you like to eat. I would just say taking that special time to cook something that you really enjoy, and cheersing, your husband is gone in a different way than mine. Mine is a lying, cheating bastard that left me and married his mistress. So, there's that. Sorry, Javi, I know you were friends with him as well, but um, so my loss is very different. And so when I feel like I miss him, I can just think of what an asshat he is. And I think when you miss yours, you can remember and miss, and then find what makes you your joy. That's the only thing I can think. It ain't and know that we all are here for
Yeah.
you always,
Oh,
always
I'm
to
so
celebrate
blessed
all that you're
in
doing.
people who love me. So, so blessed. And I do have people over a lot of people surrounding me with love, which is great. And then, after a while you go, okay, get away. I need some more
Yeah,
love.
it's to that point where you're like, oh, they're gone. They go,
They're
Yes.
gone.
it's kind of like being in like I have a rule of when I've been in the hospital, like, please don't come and see me. I'm sick. I
Yeah.
don't have the energy to spend time, and as much as I love it and you care and people want to call and talk to me, I'm like, I'm not calling you back. And bless my wife, I just, here, take my phone and just start texting people back that Bobby says, thank you for the love. He will get back to you when he's healthy.
Yes.
It's just, sometimes you need that space. And,
Yeah.
something I have in common with both of you. I both knew you. Well, Julienne, you still had a husband at the time, your ex-husband, from your children, and then I
Hmm.
knew Ellen way before Dave. So you and I
Yeah.
had our moments way before. So
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it
And we'll
was
have
just,
him after.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
I mean, I think it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, Darren says that he's got his caregiver and people don't come over, but that's Darren. I would say you got to find a way to get out. You got to find a way to connect, even if YouTube. Like Bobby, you said you found this group by going onto YouTube during the pandemic, and then you got this people, and now you've got this new passion and this friend in Canada that's wanting to do this as well. And I think that connecting, whether it's physically out or through the internet, connecting with others and then carving out space for yourself, because my kids were out shopping today and the house was quiet. I'm like, oh, the house is empty. I'm by myself. Oh my God, I love it. I love to have alone time as much as it's good to have people, but balance. I think finding that balance is such an essential balance for your body, balance for your mind, balance for your soul, balance, in all things.
Well, and you
And
said
part
it.
of that is getting out in fresh air too. I mean, the first few weeks I was just like holed up in the house, did not want to go outside, and that was definitely not good for my health, mental or otherwise,
Yeah.
especially since I love my garden so much. So now I make myself get outside for at least 5 minutes every day.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a great thing. My dog has been my new dog. I have to walk him twice a day, and I have met so many neighbors and walking and getting out in the fresh air and looking at the trees and finding, and I think there's a whole book about it, looking at awe,
Mm.
AWE, finding awe in the colors of the leaves, in the stars in the sky, in just people that will smile and say hello. I mean, that every day has those moments. Finding the awe in the everyday moments will
And
bring, I mean, I think bring a level of contentment, if not joy.
two things you guys said. Ellen, you said, with Darren's comment, and what I did, I found the internet, during the pandemic made my life where I was in love with the pandemic. I'm like, this is great, man. I'm learning people, meeting people from Portugal and all over. And that kind of reminds me for, Leon, if you're still with us, I know Leon, he lives for the Tuesdays and Thursdays. And, he finds that as like something a little bit settling for him, that he's mentioned in our comments before many times. And I know, Darren, we see you a bunch of times, but getting out there and not just this live to roll, but there's so many other avenues online that Julienne has a support group, runs a support group with her friend Jeanette, that anybody can join. You don't have to live in Northridge, California to join, or at Casa Clean and some of these support groups, uh, let us know. We can find those groups, and they're all over. Now that the pandemic is, some of them have gone away, but some of them are still real. Some of these workshops, I mean, Canada BC um, organization, SEI organization, you can get on and they have a book club. They have a boxing. You can join my online fitness. Julie, you're still doing well, right, Julianne?
Yeah. Yep.
And
5 days a week.
yeah, and I'm sure that you guys talk even when you're not working out on the other days. Like with our
Mhm.
Staying Driven community, we have a group me where constantly all of us are posting different things about our personal lives. Hey, I'm a granddad now, or hey, look at this exercise program. It might be a different way we can try it in our group. Hey, I'm having a snow day. I'll be in workout today. Our message and friendship over across the states has just been amazing, and people up in Canada, and so there's ways to get around without having to leave your door. But it is something to leave your door. It is breathtaking. I mean, when I go out and I do my pushes, I love it. And most of the time, because I'm moving, neighbors see me. Hey, and I get to talk here and there to a couple. But then when my wife walks their dogs, they're like, "Where's your husband? I haven't seen your husband in a couple of days. Is he okay?" Because man, he's amazing. Whenever I see him, and then his different shoes and blah blah blah. Like, and Ellen comes home and they're like, "They were asking about you," and da da da. And I'm like, "Why don't they talk to me more?" But and she goes, "Because you're flying, and pushing." So and that's when I get my time to look around and be out, and you can do that with your power chair, your manual chair. I mean, it is nice that I know where Ellen, you are in a flat neighborhood like I am, very flat all around. So it does help.
Yes,
Um,
it
like I know where he was in it. Dominic, and what's up, Dominic? I got to talk to him a couple of days ago on the phone. But Dominic lives on a hill. Like,
So
yeah,
yeah, I'm on a big hill.
yeah, but
does.
Dominic now is in a powered chair, so he can do that. And
Yep.
Yep.
I'm sure he does something like that. So you don't have to confine yourself if you feel alone. We're out there. There's many ways to join groups and to get involved with things, even in the community. I've talked about it many times that I did a group called Toastmasters, and it has nothing to do about disability. Anybody
Yep.
can do it and deliver a speech or learn how to deliver a speech and get to know other people.
Yep.
And it was, I did that for 10 years, and I go to events, and 99.9% of the time I was the only one in a chair there. So, I mean, there's just other avenues to find. You just have to open up your eyes. Look at your seniors center, community centers. Look at the Retton Park centers to find, like a photography group, arts group. Just go on. No, don't get me started, because if you make your living this, it's not going to get you anyway, because the living can be this if you just put your mind to it.
Yeah.
United
Yeah. And
Spinal is a good resource too. If you look on United Spinal's website, they've got a list of the different chapters at all over the country, and then you can go to that chapter and see when their support groups are on Zoom.
yeah. And
That's
there's
been interesting for me.
Backbones and Backbones is another great organization, and Triumph, and again, connecting. And as Bobby, you point out really well, getting involved in what your interests are. There are online groups for, art, music, movies, anything, as well as local ones. So it really is connecting. And then, also honoring your own quiet time too. I think that's really important. And Bobby, I think you said it at the beginning, knowing your limits and honoring your body and your mind, right? So, what if I'm over pushing this, if I'm being overly social and it's burning me out, take some time back. If I'm pushing too hard or doing too many exercises, take a day off, right? It is so important that you listen to your mind and your body. And when you want to bow out completely, that's probably when you might need to reach out, right? So you have to watch that too. I know that when I'm feeling I just don't want to do anything, that's the time I need to at least go for a stroll through my
Oh,
neighborhood,
yeah.
take the dog out, get a walk, get some fresh air, reassess, and then move forward.
Yeah, as much as I didn't want to do that high rocks, I mean, I wasn't even in a great shape that I know I can get myself into. But I had a very, very challenging year with my parents, putting my dad in a memory care facility that he can barely know my name. And luckily he recognizes me, but 10 seconds later, he doesn't know I was there and how
So
much
tough.
time I spent with him. And now my mom's on hospice in a nursing home and just stares at me and thinks I'm always mad at her when I can't get an answer why she thinks that. But, you know, and you walk away from these places, and I was just down on my luck. And as much as I want to, poo poo and feel sorry for myself, we know that life has to move on. And I think that happens with somebody who might be injured for 6 months, a year. As much as we want to poo poo, we have to learn to take one step at a time and move
Yep.
forward. And I think, if you get out there and go outside your comfort zone a little bit, you don't have to go do high rocks or go to Greece right away. But, or be Miss America, Miss California and go out for Miss America. I mean, but step out. You'll
But you
surprise
can.
yourself.
Yeah, and don't give up.
Yep.
You can't give up. You can
No,
take
I
time
think
out, but you can't give up.
Yep. I think the one thing we've learned through our injuries and our experiences and what's happened in various aspects with our parents, with our partners, with life in general is we're resilient. We're resilient as hell. And, if we just keep going, we'll find a way to figure it all out. And that there's amazing supports out there, amazing supports. These groups, Triumph, workout groups, they are there. I mean, I think Bobby, because we've known each other for so long, been through so many things. It's those connections that have helped me through the hard times, knowing that we can just go out there and connect with people who have been through hard experiences. We're not. It's not Pollyanna. We're not saying get over it. We're saying you can get through it. It's going to be muddy. It's going to be dirty. It's going to be messy. It's going to hurt. It's going to be hard at times, but keep going. You can get through it, and we're here to support you. And I think that that's the key factor that we have learned. We've lived resilience. We've lived it, right?
Yeah.
A lot.
We've done it a few times in our lives, you know, from time to time, you know, if it's with our body or even just called life, you know, we all
Yeah.
do it. We're not unique. I mean, this happens to
No.
everybody, everybody who's
Yes.
a full body, you know, and that's, you know, I know we sometimes put that thumbnail on that called disability, but it happens to all of us. And that's
Yeah.
what I try to remember. We're like, no. You think life is going to be way tougher than the chair. And
Yes.
it proves to be, you know, when I think it isn't, it is. Yeah, I've had my health issues because of my spinal cord, and at times that I feel like I want to give up, but really it's just, you know, marriage is tough. You know, I'm not saying, you know, I have the best wife in the world, but we have our challenges. You know, if it
Yeah.
wasn't, you know, in the past, at one time it was her ex-husband, another time it was my stepdaughter who was, you know, majorly ill, and then me being ill and having my problems, and then her going down for a little
Being
bit.
ill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Her being
you know, it's, you know, those have nothing to do with my disability,
Nope.
and you know, it's just called challenges, and it's not easy, and you know, you want to throw in the towel, but you know, yeah, pick yourself off, you brush yourself off, you have a mental talk with yourself. You know, I look at it and say, listen, okay, I know I've been down and this sucks, but like you said, what is tangible and what is attainable for my future? Yeah, and that's where I start every time. You know,
Yep.
and that's probably our message, you know, for the new year. What is attainable and achievable to get you through first month, second month, all the way until we finally get to 2026. And if we blink our eyes, I'm sure it's going to
Oh,
be here tomorrow.
we'll be there before we.
You know,
Too fast. Too fast.
yeah.
Well, we
Well, I
should
know
probably thank our sponsors, don't you think?
Yes, we should probably thank our sponsors
yeah. See, I'm
and
new
our
to it.
guests. Thank you, everybody that's here.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you, guys.
I can do our
Thank
sponsors if
you
you want.
all for showing up and commenting and asking questions as we share our philosophy. And our main sponsor, mobility professionals and urology professionals, some of the nicest people you're ever going to meet and very good at what they do. Honest and actually ethical. So that's pretty hard to find in our world. So, but I highly recommend you work with them. They're going to be at the LA Abilities Expo, so you can meet them there if you haven't met them yet.
And that's when, Julienne.
Expo, March 7, 8, and 9 at
Awesome.
the LA Convention Center, as usual. The new thing is there's going to be a coffee and chatting area right in the middle of the show. So that
Oh,
spoiler
cool.
alert, it'll be laid out a little differently. But otherwise,
Yeah,
it'll be most of the
a
stuff you're
social
used
part.
to game sports, climbing wall, all that stuff.
Nice,
Great.
nice. Any
All right.
Baileys?
Thank you all.
Any Baileys in that coffee social?
You know, I don't think we've got licenses to do that. So bring your own.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And we're in a wheelchair, Bobby. We can sneak in anything under our chair.
Oh,
Like, you know,
Exactly.
we could have a keg in there and they'd just let us in. So we're good. All right. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope it is a productive one. We will see you on the first Thursday in February. I think we'll be talking love, dating, life. I don't know. We'll let you all know, but we look forward to seeing everybody again. And Bobby, it was so great to have you, and Julienne, it's so good to see you.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Thanks for having me
Yeah.
on. It was my honor to be with you two lovely ladies. Wish we had Mickie and Michele here too. So
Yeah.
Me too.
I would have my
Yeah, I
top.
loved Mickie and Michele.
Yeah,
And we'll
but
see
we
you
get
next
there.
month.
All
We
right.
got
We'll see you next month.